Honourable Minister for Finance, move the motion.
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. Right Honourable Speaker, I beg to move a motion for a resolution of Parliament to borrow up to units of account 91,700,000, an equivalent of United States dollars 121,961,000 from the African Development Fund for the construction of the South Sudan Uganda Power Interconnection Project. I beg to move. Right,
the motion seconded. Honourable Pachuto, Honourable Tumizugo, Honourable Badiomo, Honourable Okasai, Honourable Lango, Honourable Diek, Honourable Adiomo. Thank you. And many other members. Minister, you want to give us a quick one?
Mr. Speaker, the motion is moved in accordance with Article 159 of the Constitution and Section 34 of the Rules of Procedure of Section 34 of the Public Finance Management Act and Rule 162 of our Rules of Procedure. The project description is as follows. The project objective is to enhance electricity supply, reliability and affordability by integrating South Sudan into the East African power pool grid. This will address electricity deficits in South Sudan, promote regional energy trade, and provide a market for clean and surplus power generated in Uganda. Specifically, the project aims to provide South Sudan with access to affordable, reliable electricity, enable Uganda to export surplus power, and thereby reducing financial losses from unutilized capacity, and strengthen regional energy security and integration by enhancing power trade between Uganda and South Sudan. The Uganda-South Sudan Power Interconnection Project aims to construct the necessary infrastructure to enable power trading between the two nations, providing affordable and reliable electricity to South Sudan and optimizing Uganda's surplus capacity. The project has got the following components. Under Component 1 is construction of transmission lines, whereby a 400 kV double-circuit transmission line spanning approximately 299 kilometers between Orio in Uganda and Juba, South Sudan, designed for a power transfer capacity of up to 1,000 megawatts. The section in Uganda covers a distance of 150 kilometers. Component 2 is construction of substations. The construction of new substations at Gumbo in South Sudan and Bibia in Uganda, and the expansion of existing substations at Orio and Karuma in Uganda to accommodate the new transmission infrastructure. Under Component 3, construction of distribution network and last mile connections. Here there will be a development of a 33 kV distribution network in both countries, extending electricity access to 1,000 new connections, including households, small businesses, and social infrastructure amenities. Component 4, project administration and management services, institutional capacity building, and joint coordination. This will entail the services of project supervision consultant with 2 independent teams, one for South Sudan and another for the Uganda project components, for construction supervision of the project. Component 5, Resettlement Action Plan implementation. This will entail the acquisition of the way leaves for the transmission line infrastructure and the respective compensation of the project affected persons, and livelihood restoration for vulnerable households impacted by the land acquisition for the project. Part of the loan, worth units of account 3.3 million, will cover the RAP implementation. I now come to the financing of the project, Mr. Speaker. The total estimated cost of the Uganda-South Sudan Power Interconnection Project is units of account 185.061 million, with funding contributions from the African Development Fund and European Union and both governments of Uganda and South Sudan. The financing for the Uganda section will be primarily through a concessional ADF loan of 91.7 million units of account. This will be supplemented by counterpart contributions from the Uganda government amounting to units of account 3.29 million. The total cost of the project components for Uganda government is units of account 94.99 million. The financing terms are as follows. Loan amount 91.7 units of accounts. The maturity duration or period is 50 years, including grace period of 10 years. The service charge is 1% per annum of the disbursed loan balance, and commitment fees is 0.75% per annum on the disbursed loan balance. The conditions precedent to the disbursement of resettlement funds are: 1. Submit work compensation schedule in accordance with the resettlement action plan, provide evidence of the establishment of a special account for the resettlement and compensation activities, and 3. Submit the valuation report for the affected properties prepared by an acceptable valuer. Mr. Speaker, I beg to submit.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. Mr. Chair, kindly present the report. The Minister has given the brief, so.
Right Honourable Speaker, before I read the report of the Committee on National Economy on the proposal to borrow up to units of accounts 91,700,000, equivalent to $121,961,000 from the African Development Fund for the construction of the South Sudan Uganda Power Connection Project, SUPIP. I beg to lay the report of the committee. The minutes of the committee are here attached, and also the minority report signed by 2 members of my committee, Honorable Teba Ndeke and Honorable Hassan Chirumira. Right Honorable, I beg to lay. Honorable members, this loan request was referred to the Committee on National Economy. We had an interaction with the Ministry of Finance, Planning and Economic Development, Ministry of Energy and Mineral Development, Uganda Electricity Transmission Company Limited, UETIS, Uganda Electricity Credit Capitalization Company, and Uganda Electricity Distribution Company. We had a number of documents in line with that were presented together with the loan.
Honourable, can we do page 20? Because the Minister has given a full brief. From the
Right Honourable Speaker, I was trying to bring out an issue of compliance.
No, but we know you do that, but I wouldn't have allowed the report on the other paper.
Most obliged, Right Honourable Speaker. Right Honourable Speaker, in your guidance, but Right Honourable Speaker, it would also be good for the committee to point out issues in the ministry, most especially like poor performance of some of the loans.
No, Honourable, I expect a report from you and your committee on performance of loans generally, not one loan. And I've been waiting for it, by the way. So better do, then I give you space, not for each loan to go to the same issues, because they are recurrent issues.
Right Honourable Speaker, I take your guidance, Right Honourable Speaker. Page 20 talks about the observations and recommendations of the committee. Right Honourable Speaker, the Minister already gave the preamble about this particular loan facility, and the committee made observations. Observation number 1 was regional transmission interconnectors. The committee noted that trans-border power interconnection projects are inherently complex because they often involve multiple governments, multiple executing or implementing agencies, multiple financials, and must be backed by several agreements to become operational. The committee recommends the following: that Ministry of Energy and Mineral Development should ensure efficient and effective coordination at regional level with the Ministry of Energy and Dams, Southern Sudan, to avoid delays in the utilization of the electricity transmission assets in both countries in order to guarantee the timely realization of the project benefits. Ministry of Energy and Mineral Development should ensure that the final power purchase agreement between the Government of Uganda and Government of Southern Sudan, including the joint operations and maintenance agreements, are finalized and signed by both governments prior to the completion and live testing of the power connectors. This will avoid the delays due commercial dates of operation of the Southern Sudan-Uganda power interconnection line being postponed as a result of the untimely preparation of the prerequisite documents, namely power purchase agreement and related agreements. 2, the committee made an observation on budget implications of the project. The committee observed that while a budget provision of 1 billion Uganda shillings domestic financing has been provided for the ongoing activities under the project in the financial year 2025-2026, the project first year external financing requirement is not provided for in the financial year 2025-2026 budget. Further, the project is not part of the multi-year commitments settlement statement for the financial year 2025-2026 as presented to Parliament. The external debt requisition to finance year 1 of these project activities increases the financing requirements of government that should be planned in the government physical operations for the current financial year 2025 and over the medium term. The committee recommends that government should expedite the process of including this project to form part of the multi-year commitments of the financial year 2025-2026 and the medium term. And as a result, government should adjust its physical framework to include any costs associated with the financing modalities of the project for the financial year 2025-2026 and the medium term. In conclusion, Right Honourable Speaker, cognizant of the regional integration, regional energy infrastructure development is prioritized in the 4th National Development Plan, financial year 2025-2026 to 2029-2030. Since investing in the electricity supply industry is multifaceted intervention that does not only support socio-economic growth, but also addresses technical challenges in other sectors such as agriculture, health, transport, education, and telecommunication, among others. The implementation of the project will enable Uganda to trade 624 624 gigawatt hour of its surplus energy with Southern Sudan in the first year of operation, with corresponding huge reduction in greenhouse gas emission. Uganda will receive direct economic benefits as a result of this project, which will be redistributed within the energy sectors, especially in contributing to increasing the proportion of the population with access to electricity within the country. The project will further complement previous and the ongoing energy operations, specifically by expanding the national transmission network, thereby providing the backbone to increase electricity access, particularly in Acholi sub-region, which has one of the lowest grid access rates in the country, alongside Karamoja and West Nile. The committee recommends that the request by government to borrow up to units of accounts 91,700,000 from the African Development Fund for the construction of Southern Sudan Uganda Power Interconnection Project be approved, subject to the above recommendations. I beg to submit.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Thank you. I want to welcome the Right Honorable Prime Minister to the House. Thank you. This debate opens now. I'll start with Honorable Chair, he said we have a minority report, and Honorable Tebandeke is ready. Let's first receive the minority report from Honorable Tebandeke.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. I move under Rule 215 of our Rules of Procedure to present a minority report on the resolution of Parliament to borrow up to UA 91,700,000, equivalent to US dollar 121,961,000 from African Development Fund for the construction of South Sudan, Uganda Power Interconnection Project. Right Honorable Speaker and colleagues, we are cognizant of the fact that this specific project is to enhance electricity supply and reliability and affordability by integrating South Sudan into East African Power Pool, EAPP, to address electricity deficit in South Sudan. Even when our government has failed to connect many parts of the country to the national grid, our colleagues, our reports from Uganda National Bureau of Statistics 2024 show that the national electricity connection rate in Uganda is still rotating around 25.3% to the national grid, with significant differences between urban, that is 49%, and rural, that's 9.1% areas, and with only about 15% enjoying reliable electricity, including rural residents who are disproportionately affected. Right Honorable Speaker and colleagues, while the committee was scrutinizing this particular request, we disagreed on two crucial issues for the whole House's attention, and I hereby highlight them. Area of dissent. We dissented with the majority of the committee on fundamental matters. 1. Missing memorandum of understanding, power purchasing agreement and contract between Uganda and the rest of the neighbors, including South Sudan in question. 2. Inadequate information on the project and the power capacity. Right Honorable Speaker, I hereby explain as follows. 1. Missing memorandum of understanding, power purchasing agreement and contract between Uganda and the rest of its neighbors, including South Sudan in question. Right Honorable Speaker and colleagues, we acknowledge that the regional power trade is advancing rapidly after exports to our neighbors of Rwanda, Kenya, Tanzania, Democratic Republic of Congo, and lately to South Sudan. However, Ugandans have not had a chance to know the memorandum that governs this exportation. The contract terms and obligations governing the export are still a public secret from the Parliament for its interrogation and further inquiries. Right Honourable Speaker and colleagues, only 25.3% of Ugandans connected to the national grid and only 15% enjoying reliable electricity. Rumors have it that where we export or sell our power, importers enjoy a unit price cheaper compared to us exporters, Right Honourable Speaker. This is a disservice to Ugandans, Right Honourable Speaker, and this has made many Ugandans resort to cheaper means like use of solar, given its negative consequences. Other factors remain constant. With places like Kalangala, a unit is going above Uganda shillings 1,500 per unit. This government owes an explanation as to why electricity is still costly to us Ugandans compared to our neighbors where we do export electricity. Right Honourable Speaker, point number 2 of dissent is inadequate information on the project and the power capacity. Right Honourable Speaker and colleagues, analyzing the proposed intervention like 400 kV double circuit transmission line, approximately 299 kilometers with a power transfer capacity to up to 1,000 MV. One question at hand is, what is the installation capacity and available megawatts that our country has before dreaming of export? Right Honourable Speaker and colleagues, the gap between installed generation capacity and available power is not clear, because factors like low hydropower output during droughts, high transmission and distribution losses, and low access rate dilute the impact of increased capacity, as lamented by the Minister of Energy. Reports on installed capacity reaching 2048 megawatts are insignificant, with persistent challenges of reliance on hydroelectric power, which is affected by water levels and low grid expansion. Additionally, Right Honourable Speaker and colleagues, the statement from the Managing Director of Uganda Electricity Distribution Company Limited that portrays that power demand has increased to 10% per annum in the country and is enough to fast-track power distribution and extension to Ugandans than lack of power, than borrowing power for export. Right Honourable Speaker. We here to recommend as follows. We recommend that this House, in the spirit of minimizing the reducing loan appetite for Ugandans, that is seeing almost above 50% of the national budget tied to debt management, not even service, in a spirit that our debt to GDP has increased nearly to 52%, we request this Parliament to stand over on this loan for the following reasons, Right Honourable Speaker and colleagues. 1, the Attorney General to lay before this House the memorandum and the contract terms, probably explain contract obligations within the and contract obligation that regulate the export of power to our neighbors. This embeds the selling price of a unit of power to our neighbors. 2, Parliament resolves to reconsider this proposal to instead look for cheap credit to extend power to Ugandans as opposed to heavy borrowing for export, yet many Ugandans are not yet connected to the national grid. Right Honourable Speaker. We hereby conclude as follows. Right Honourable Speaker and colleagues, we request that for the sake of reducing the risks and the fear of increasing debt stock for the country, you consider and overwhelmingly support this minority report to stand over on this loan so that we fast track electricity for distribution and connecting of Ugandans than thinking of exportation with relative disadvantages and secrecy within the memorandum of understanding that is not availed in here. I beg to submit.
Thank you. Why didn't you add on those words on the report? The ones you've ended with? Maybe your colleague wouldn't have signed, or just that was on a light note. Yeah, thank you.
Right, Honorable
No,
Speaker.
that was just on a light note domain. Yeah. You've done a thorough job, Honorable colleague. Yes, so I'll start with Honorable Slaji. I add on youth. I add on Honorable Kawasharira. Then I'll pick you, Honorable colleagues. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker, for giving me this opportunity. I first of all want to congratulate you for being unopposed. And when I come to this parliament again, you shall not be sure of my votes.
And I saw you are doing well in your constituency when I
Thank
came
you very
over.
much.
I wish you the best.
Right Honorable Speaker, I want to concur with the report of borrowing loan in order to supply power to South Sudan. That one is really going to be a good business for Uganda, because we Ugandans, we operate businesses in South Sudan and in neighboring countries like Kenya and Rwanda. So when we supply power into these countries, automatically we shall also be beneficiaries of the utilization of the power. And in turn, it will also bring for us income to Uganda. Right Honorable Speaker, I also want to be categorically clear on this point. We supply power to other countries, and at the rate they are paying power is extremely lower than how we Ugandans who supply power to these countries are paying. So something should be done in order to normalize these rates, so that we who are the suppliers of these powers should also benefit at least much lower than what they are getting from us. And secondly, there are many areas in Uganda where power has not been supplied. So borrowing such loans in order to supply power to those areas, to nearby countries, we should first consider supplying power to our people, so that the supplement should be the one which should be given to those countries, so that our people will also benefit from the power that is available.
Thank
I
you.
beg to submit.
Thank you. Honorable Gumayo.
Honorable Speaker, I rise to vehemently support this loan on two merits. Number one, Honorable Speaker, what we are doing, like what we are going to do, extend power to South Sudan, like we did the past few years, extending our roads to DRC Congo. Honorable Speaker, these we do help us cast a shadow and become a powerful nation in this region. And we should not go without expressing our gratitude to the visionary leadership of our government, the head of state, and all leaders of the NRM. Because by doing this, we project ourselves as a powerful country in the region and remain so as a necessity. And on the second issue, Honorable Speaker, while my colleague across the aisle was arguing on the basis of us having insufficient, I wish to request that our colleagues always first read the reports. For example, the committee report did a good job in explaining that by 2024 alone, Uganda's power capacity was over 2,000 megawatts. And as a country, we were only consuming 988 megawatts. It means we have a surplus of over 1,000 megawatts, and of which, by the way, we pay for this power even when we don't consume it. And some of this power to produce, we have borrowed money, and we continue paying for it even when we don't consume it. Honorable Speaker, this loan is in the best of the interest of Ugandans, that we borrow it, then supply this power to South Sudan, they pay for it as we relieve ourselves of the debt burden for the loans that we borrowed earlier to produce this power. Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker.
Thank you. Honourable Kawasharira. Then Honourable Bigaro.
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker. I will just continue from where he stopped by appreciating the chairman for the report and also for the government to think of extending power to our neighboring country. And also thank the government for extending power to Kenya, Rwanda, our neighbors. I would like to use this chance to be explained, and I think it will even explain more to the public that is listening to this. Because many Ugandans will put a question like we are putting, that why export when we can't get in the country? I might be understanding why, but may we use this chance for Honorable Kasai to explain to us why we have a lot of power to supply. What is happening to the distribution in this country? We really need that distribution to cover a big area. What is it that is stopping us? If it is to borrow, why don't we also borrow for distribution so that our areas which are in darkness can get power? We can borrow. We are here, we shall pass we are going to pass this one. But may you explain to this country, use this chance, why we still have, like some of us are going to have problems in getting votes. Yes, we shall get, but with many questions. People are asking, why don't you give this power? We are not having power here and there. And then we explain, then we go to the ministry, then they promise, then they do what? What is it? Now when they see this loan, because people read, social media, get out. You are going to give power to Sudan. But here we are. And also this load shedding. We have enough. Why don't we control the load shedding? It is too much. People are losing business because of power. People are losing gadgets in the house because power comes. What is it? Can we get...
Thank you, Honorable.
Can we get explanation? Honorable Speaker, I would like to be explained sincerely. And I think the public will also benefit on this. Thank you so much.
Honorable Bigaros.
Yeah, thank you so much, Right Honorable Speaker. In the same vein, I want to congratulate the committee for such a well-thought idea to give power to my neighbors in Sudan. Historically, I'm called Sudanese group of people. But the only embarrassing thing, very embarrassing, you forget about yourself, you prefer a neighbor. Obongi does not have a single electric pole. Terego, that hosts very many refugees. And where Honorable Minister Kasai gets money specifically to refugee hosting, they have become adamant. The other day, my people didn't know what to do. They were now asking for power directly from the president. What is this stopping us from first serving ourselves and then we give the excess to the neighbors? Two, the most crucial thing here, I sit on the Committee of Natural Resources. As power travels a long distance, there's a lot of leakage. Why don't you break this power within West Nile that is really crying? Last time when Honorable Minister for Energy was in West Nile, she was booed and made to sit embarrassed before the president. I think this is the only language Minister of Energy understands. We have failed to explain ourselves to the local people of West Nile. Arua has a lot of potential for business. The refugees have, NGOs have established welding machines, areas for promoting youth, but they cannot. The ministry has adamantly refused to step down power. They can hear come and say, let's transport power now to Sudan. As if there are no human beings in West Nile. You have turned us into animals. We don't need power because we are not part of the national park. We need clear explanation before we can allow this loan to proceed to Sudan, or else we get it. Let's first sort West Nile, then we can now, because proceed. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Jonathan Odur.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, sir, I associate myself with the comments and concerns and the sentiments of the members of this House. But before I proceed to make comment, I want to compliment the committee. Having looked at Table 1 and Table 2, Table 1 is about the compliance. Except for the counterpart funding, which I think has a score less by 3 points. This loan scores almost 100% on our own requirements. And I'm raising this, Mr. Speaker, sir, because I'm a very strict enforcer of our own rules of procedure. And I feel that documents and reports that come from our committees must honor our own rules of procedure. So when I look at this report, it's almost 100%. The second is on Table 2, which is about the performance of loans. I invite members to look at some of the projects that we have borrowed but remain undisbursed. I think some of the concerns that we are raising here, for example, the electricity scale-up access project is just 80%. I mean, it's 20%, 80% remain undisbursed. There's a transmission line from Masaka to Mbarara, almost 100%. The loan is just lying there. I think 2 loans. And then power supply to industrial areas. The ministry should explain to us why they would come to us to borrow and raise the appetite of Ugandans that we are going to connect them to the grid, and in the end, some of these monies remain, and yet we have to pay a lot of cost. I also want to question, if you are going to take this power from Karumba through Acholi and West Nile, and the 2 communities remain in darkness, especially West Nile that has remained for a very long time. And yet when you look at the National Development Plan of the 1980 to 1985, the one of UPC, there was already a plan in place to connect the entire West Nile. By the time the NRM government took grabbed power, that plan was already there. 40 years up to today, West Nile is still crying for just connection to the grid, and their power is unreliable. So I want to implore the government that do not allow your own citizens who are going to shoulder the burden of this loan to be crying for power, and then you want to just, if I may use the words of my brother Rugumayo, that you want to be a big man of the region. There is no pride in being a big man presiding over other countries when your own country does not have a power supply. So that narrative, I depart from it, and I think we shouldn't just be doing things because we want to position Uganda as the big man of the region when we cannot supply our own. Lastly, the issue raised in the minority report of the power purchase agreement. Mr. Speaker, I implore you to prevail over the ministry to provide this information to the House. We have entered so many bad agreements, and then in the end, Parliament is blamed. We ought to be availed this document. At least there are mechanisms I know within this House. If the document cannot be accessed by everyone, but at least within the committee, and maybe a group of members can review, including your office, Mr. Speaker, sir, so that we avoid suspicion, we avoid blame game, and even we save this country potential hazard that may arise out of a bad contract. We have bad people all over the world who are moving, trapping countries, setting them up, and after 2-3 years, we come here, we have to terminate and then compensate. So I would implore that this issue of the power purchase agreement should not be swept under the carpet. We have to get an explanation from the government. Otherwise, in this loan, I think I commend the compliance level of the documents supplied by the government to the committee. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, Honourable Minister, yes, just we need responses to these issues because you have a run of 2015, which was supposed to end by 2020. You've not yet completed. You have, no, Honourable, please, take your seat. You have a run of 2020, which was supposed to end in 2024. The performance is 0.33%, not even 1%. You have a run of which was supposed to end in 2023, and your performance is even worse, 0.32%. Okay? You have one which was supposed to end in 2024. The performance is at 0%. And you want us to give you more money. What would be the basis? Number two, where is the power purchase agreement between you and South Sudan? Why didn't the committee receive it? I was just trying to summarize what colleagues raised here. If you can satisfy them.
Right, Honorable Speaker. I'll start by addressing a justification for the loan, then I'll answer those questions. One, we're a signatory to the East African Power Pool, where we agreed to share electrons, and the electrons will not be flowing one direction. We are actually in the East African Power Pool. We are trading in power. It is not always that Uganda will have excess power. For example, occasionally we actually import electricity to kickstart our systems from Kenya. And this one is supposed to enhance the flow of electrons across the East African region. And the reason why we are doing this, in case we fall short of electricity, we should be able to import electricity. Within the East African region, you find Ethiopia is actually having more electricity than us. And in the case of shortages, like it happened recently in Southern Africa, where the dam actually went and they produced about 10% of their electricity, we should be able to bring in electricity. That is the major reason for actually saying that we must trade in East Africa to avoid shortages across the East African states. Number two, the report clearly says that we have excess available electricity. Yes, we are producing 256 megawatts now, but we are using only 900. It means we have some electricity that we can sell. And this selling of electricity not only brings in foreign currency to our country, but it also contributes to reducing the power tariffs which you are talking about. Because if you are producing electricity and you are not selling, the tariffs is shared, the cost of production of electricity is shared among the few consumers. But if we can extend the power, it contributes to reduction of the tariffs. For example, recently we had a 14% reduction of the tariffs in Uganda by only removing umeme. And would want to continuously reduce the power tariffs by selling out whatever we produce. So it has got a fact of reducing the tariffs instead of raising the tariffs.
Honourable Minister, the members have not had a problem with that, if I listen to their submission. Their problem was, why don't you sell that power to Ugandans who have no connection? Why don't you connect to Ugandans? You sell that power to Ugandans who are dying for it, instead of you connecting another country and you sell it to others. That's a question. I think if you could answer that line, it would make it easier for them.
I will add. Let me answer that one. Why are we not distributing the power? The budget provisions cannot allow me to distribute the power because I need $4 billion if I'm to deliver electricity. And two, it is very expensive to distribute electricity. I'm going to challenge the members of parliament. Wherever we pass electricity, the parliamentarians demand for electricity, but when we go to take electricity, the cost of clearing the land, the pubs, is extremely high. It is.
But honorable colleagues, let's not roast the minister here.
That's actually a chorus.
But honorable minister, you see, what is very clear is that we have given you money through loans, but they are not performing. So I think what we should do, we should focus on the performance of the loans we have given you, so that you reach out to very many people, you distribute them this power. If these loans performed well, I'm sure you would be having very many people to give power. So how can we help you on that, honorable minister? Let the rope add something, and we are here to support you, honorable minister. We want to move with you, but then you also listen to the concerns of the colleagues.
Mr. Speaker, sir, out of the 10.8 million households, only 2.3 million are connected to electricity, and that's the concern. So the question we are posing to you, if you connect all the 10.8, will you have excess supply? The answer obviously will be no. The answer will be no. And it's unfair for you, the minister, to come and blame us for not providing funding, yet I've cited for you, I think 3 electricity access scale performing very poorly, 2 transmission lines from Masaka to, I think, to Mbarara or somewhere there, 2 performing, industrial park, power to industrial parks. There is an industrial park in Lira, and people want power. There is no connection, and the loan is performing at 0%. So the question you should tell us is whether, if you execute all these loans to the dot, will you have excess power? Obviously, no.
Chair, it is actually wrong for Honorable Dur to allege that it's only less than 20% of the households who are connected to electricity. To our statistics, it is 60% of Ugandans are connected. Chair, I'll go to talk about this. What do you mean by electricity? Electricity is electrons flowing. 22% are connected to the grid, but 38% are connected to alternative electricity sources. Yes, we have mini grids which are solar based. We have rooftop. Those are all electricity connections. Let's not focus on grid connection. It is how many people use electricity. So it is 60%. No, I'm not. Let me continue answering the questions. But I'm talking about the percentage of the population. It cannot be 22. Number 2, electricity access scale-up project. While I appreciate your approval of the project, it actually we provided for counterpart funding, which is not provided. So we would wish to get this project moving, but the counterpart fund must be provided because it is in the agreement.
Really, it's not, Honourable Minister for Finance, is it true? Because it was not a lot of money. This is a World Banker project. very critical. Minister for Finance is here.
Right Honorable Speaker, every year we budget, and it is about the entity to prioritize, to choose what to use for the money we give them. If Ministry of Energy thinks counterpart funding is a priority out of the priorities they have, then they should be able to find money within their budget and provide for it.
Honourable Minister, Power Purchase Agreement.
A power purchase agreement for this one is not yet ready, because you cannot go into power purchase agreement when you don't have infrastructure. It is based on the approval of this loan that we can start discussing a power purchase agreement. 2, there is no country that we're exporting power to at less than 12 US cents. Kenya, for example, our provision of power to Kenya is 12 US cents per kilowatt hour. And there is no area in Uganda which we are supplying power at more than 10 US cents. Kalangal Island, it is because it is not on the grid. That's why we have that high tariffs. Anyone here is actually consuming power at about 7 US cents. And we have reached 5 US cents for large industries. So that is much lower than anywhere in the region. So we are the cheapest tariff, the lowest tariff in the region, because of most of our power is hydro-based. The cost of producing that power is quite low, unlike other countries where they rely on thermal generation of power. Diesel generation is quite high, and that's what's happening in many of our countries. So the power purchase agreement, I can talk about the Kenyan one, but I cannot talk in anticipation of what we are going to do with the South Sudan. The performance of the various projects, electricity access scale-up is actually delayed implementation because of the World Bank clearances. But good news, we have reached now a procurement level where we expect the project to start performing. However, the PAF requirement, where I need counterpart fund, will continue counting negatively on us. The Mbarara line, this project is delayed because of the terms of the financial. There has been moving to and fro. It is financed by the French, and we had actually a problem in the procurement. The best evaluated was a Chinese company, but the financiers insist that we are going to get their a country which is favorable, a French company, and this one has taken a long time to overcome. The last one, the supply of electricity to the industries. That project is actually on course, including providing substations in the various industrial parks, like Mbale Industrial Park, the Soroti Industrial Park. The project is also on course to provide power to those industrial parks. Many industrial parks have actually been connected, but they don't have adequate power supply because we have got to build substations in those various industrial parks and the transmission lines. we have a project which we have actually specifically developed for delivering adequate and reliable power to the industrial parks, meaning extending transmission lines and then having substations in those industrial parks. The industrial parks are developing faster than the power supply that we have. So we have got to deliver the power through the transmission lines. I submit.
So, but Honourable Minister, I just wanted to really be in line with you and the committee, because someone must be wrong somewhere. The committee report on page 9 shows the one for industrial parks, it shows 0 progress. And this is the project which should have been completed by 2024, because it was the loan of 2020. So who is wrong when you say you've made that progress? You think it's an error so that we correct it, Honourable Minister? I'm seeing disbursing, 0 progress, physical, 0 progress.
Right, Honourable Speaker. The project is at procurement level. So long as you have not concluded procurement on the infrastructure project, you actually realize zero spending of money.
Yes.
But the moment we get the procurement over, that project will be delivered.
So I didn't get the exact reason why a project which was supposed to end in 2024.
It is still procurement.
From 2020 to 2024, and this contract, this project, if I remember very well, had a contractor on it even. Because I remember a little bit about the Honourable Chair, maybe let the Chair of the Committee furnish us with some detail. It should have ended by 2024. We are in 2025, you're still procuring.
Honourable Speaker, the Minister should be informing this House that the Adaria acquired a loan and later the premium, and that's Sinosure, and actually recently, so the lender will not disburse an amount until the other amount of the premium was financed. And actually, recently we came back to this Parliament to approve additional financing to cater for that extra, which was Sinosure. So that's why that project would not kickstart.
Thank you. Now I think that's a better explanation. I remember us approving that extra financing. So, Honourable Minister, we request you, you know, we have many colleagues who are struggling in their constituencies because of power. Yes. So I'm sorry, that's why you see. So I think I will request the Honourable Minister of Finance to meet with the Minister of Energy to discuss the issue of counterpart funding for that World Bank project. Because I remember both finance and energy were here and they assured us, and this is an extremely critical project, very big, over $1 trillion, you know, where we shall be paying interest on undisbursed money if we don't move. Honourable colleagues, I put the question that a motion for resolution of Parliament authorize government to borrow up to 91,700,000 equivalent USD 121,961,000 from African Development Fund for the construction of the South Sudan Power Interconnection Project SUPIP be approved by this House. Those in favor say the nay. The ayes have it. Honourable Minister, please ensure that indeed you go ahead and you implement this, but plus other projects, because you've had, it's not that the MPs are against this project per se, but they have concerns on how they are, projects that affect them are not. Yes. The MPs have given you a warning, they are supporting you, but they are saying don't bring any other on until you sort these issues. Honorable Roper has suggested you don't bring any other one from your sector until you address their issues. We shall stop on the ones of today for now. Thank you.
Thank you for watching Lango News channel. Please subscribe for more updates.